Hey, Ken and Lynn, just wanted to congratulate you on your 300th episode. That's awesome. And from all your friends over here at Concierge, we just wish you the best in 2021. It really is hard to believe that it's just over 3 years ago that I started Concierge. And as I was just getting going, a friend of mine said, you have to go check out these guys over at the Sweep Spot. It's really just like a great conversation with friends. Well, sure enough, I reached out and the rest is history. You've been excellent partners ever since, and I love working with you guys and the whole Sweep Spot community. Keep up the great work putting out excellent Disney content. We love you guys. Have a wonderful year.
You're in the sweet spot, baby. You're in the sweet spot, girl. You're in the sweet spot, darling. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. You're in the sweet spot, baby. You're in the sweet spot, girl. You're in the sweet spot, darling. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. You're in the sweet spot, girl. You're in the sweet spot, darling. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world.
Welcome to the Sweet Spot. My name is Lynn, your host, and Ken's my co-host. Ken, how is it going?
Lynn, I am so excited to be here, especially after we spent all last month in a bubble so that I could join you for this lovely spread that you have here to celebrate this episode. It's episode 301, right?
Nope, 300.
300!
Yeah.
300, Lynn. I've been the special guest star all this time.
No.
Special guest star, your host, Lynn Barron, and your special guest star...
Yeah.
Heather Locklear. No, Ken Pellman.
Yeah. Happy New Year. It's good to be back recording again. We took much of the month of December off, and we are now here, episode 300. This March it'll be 10 years, Ken. So,
holy moly! I mean, you know what that means? I was just 11 years old when this thing started.
I know. Yeah, it's been amazing. I never thought we'd be doing it this long, but as you get going, I can't see myself stopping either.
Well, we owe it. We wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for the listeners. And also the people who hold us down in the seats and stick the microphones in front of our faces and say, "You'd better do a podcast, buddy."
Yes.
Those people too. They're the ones who keep us doing this. So, no, actually, we don't have anybody doing that, but we do have listeners, believe it or not, and
we do.
We appreciate the listeners.
Yeah.
Some of them are really enthusiastic, and it really makes us feel good that somebody appreciates the show. And they enjoy it.
Yeah, and when we were allowed to be in public, it was fun to, when we'd meet them in person, and like at D23 or Disneyana, our Walt's Barn, different places that we've been.
When I'm shopping at Costco and they're stalking me.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
True. Yes, but no. In all seriousness. It's just been an amazing ride, and 300 shows. We're here. So we are happy to be here, as always. And Ken and I, if you don't know who we are, and you're like, all right, 300, but what do you guys do? We are both former Disneyland Custodial cast members, and we talk about Disneyland. And we're also authors of 2 books, Cleaning the Kingdom. And we have volumes 1 and 2. And you can get volume 2 on our website, signed by both of us. We ran out of volume 1, but Amazon still has volume 1. You can order the books on there. Also, both books, if you want to do it that way. We also have audiobook on the first book. We're working on the second book for audio, but that won't be out for a while. And you can also get the Kindle versions, digital and all that, wherever you find those books. All right, so then we have a lot of stuff going on here. We started a Patreon a couple of years ago, and it was requested by some listeners that wanted a way to help us. So, some people just have that kind of a gift, or it gets placed on their heart where they want to give or help people, and that's great. But we didn't have really a way to do that, so I set up a Patreon, and now we have we did our bonus episodes as a way for people that were giving $5 or more a month, and then we had this unique thing. We said, or before the $5, we said $7.49 for the bonus episode, and that was $7.49 because of that was our department number when we were in custodial at Disneyland, was 749. So we thought we were being nifty, and we came up with $7.49. So we have some people on that plan, and we have some people on the $5 plan. Well, over this break, I came up with a whole new tier system to reward people that want to give more or less or whatever you want to do, which is totally up to you. It's optional. We're still doing this show regardless, but some people just want to be involved more and be a part of what we're doing, and that's great. So these are the tiers that I came up with, and some of these, if you're already giving, you'll still get what you're getting. You're not going to lose anything. So for $1 or more, between $1 and $4.99, we thank you on the podcast. And if you and I'm going to start doing that quarterly. So everyone, no matter if you your first time giving was in 2018, still going to list your name quarterly. So because I want to thank you because you're still giving, and that's awesome. So that's that. The next one up is $5, between $5 and $7.48. So to the next one, and that is the bonus episode. So if you actually $7, okay, sorry, $5 to $7.49, you get the bonus episode. And so if you've been giving between $5 and $7.49, then you're getting the bonus episode already. But if people in the $1 one want to upgrade, they can. And then we have a new one. So these two are new categories. This one is $15 a month. But I'm sorry. Let me rewind. Man, I am blowing this. Okay. It's so confusing. Okay, $7.49 is now have its own category. So you guys that were giving $7.49, and there's a few, you are going to get the bonus episode like always, but you will also get on the end of that bonus episode, you'll get a little custodial edition. So at the $5 range, you do not get that, but at $7.49, because that was our department number, you're going to get a little custodial thing at the end, little tidbit at the end, that will talk a little bit more, and that'll be on the $7.49 one. Then the next one is $15. If you want to give $15 or more, you'll get all the stuff below, so all the stuff I already mentioned, plus seasonal stickers. So we're going to have one per season. We have a winter one that I think they're arriving tomorrow, and I will mail that to you personally, and thank you. And then you'll get you'll give $15 every month throughout the year, and then in spring we'll have one, and then fall, and then winter again. So we're gonna have seasonal stickers. Or I'm sorry, summer. Then anyways, so yeah, there'll be 4 of them throughout the year. So and they're different. There'll be sweet spot stickers, kind of themed towards seasons, and they'll be different. So it's sort of like a sticker club or whatever. So I'll send those out as the seasons come, but that's for $15 or more a month, plus all the stuff below that. And then the big one is $20, and that is if you want to have a Skype session, audio only, so no cameras or anything. And it won't be recorded for a show, but it's a Skype session if you want to just have a discussion with Ken and I about any topic. Say if you want to talk about Splash Mountain or whatever. I don't care. We'll talk about it, and we'll hang out with a bunch of the people that sign up for that $20 or more category. And if no one does, then we just won't do it. But I want to do that quarterly. So that's $20 a month. So 4 times a year we'll do that. So anyways, that's the new tiers. You can go on to patreon.com and search the sweep spot, and you'll find all those on there and sign up. And then also I think we have a link on our website. You can do that too. But that's a lot of stuff. So anyways, we really do appreciate any little bit we get. It goes to help with all the ongoing costs that the podcast has, and it keeps going up. But we truly do appreciate it, and we want to make it a little more rewarding to the people that do give. So anyways, that's that. And then Mitch, while we're talking about Patreon, so I wanted to, like I said, I want to name all the people that have been giving since we that are continuing to give, because I want to do this quarterly just to thank you. Because there's some people that joined, I have on here in 2017. I didn't even realize it went back that far. That have been giving this whole time, and I'm probably going to butcher all your names and this and that, but I just want to thank you. So this is starting up back in the beginning here. Austin Rath, Michael Corbett, Daniel, it just says Daniel, Kevin Lauderdale, John McHugh, Mark Elliott, Kathy Nelson, Bob Thomas, Glenn Chatfield, Wynn Patterson, Yin says or Glenn Smith, Kim Batcher, Wayne Stoller, Savannah Goltzer, Andy, Gretchen Hoffman, Kyle Skinner, Mike Presnell, David and Reagan, Chrissy Alexander, Francis, Connie Marino, Miguel Venegas, Devin O'Neill, Patrick Higgins, Stephanie Fix, Donna Schonweiler, and our 2 newest ones is Londa Corcoran, Londa Corcoran, and Brian Monstry. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and sorry that if we mispronounce your names.
Yeah, it's hard.
If you come on with us on Skype or whatever, we can, we'll be sure to learn the correct pronunciation.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I'm not going to do this every episode, but I just wanted to say it because I do appreciate it. So, anyways, thank you all. So go to Patreon if you want to readjust things or whatever. But the bonus episode for the new ones is just for new people that maybe don't do it. It's just Ken and I have a conversation about a certain topic, and we just discuss it and more in depth. It's not like a history thing. It's more of just opinions and discussion. Just kind of if you were just sitting there chatting with us sometime. Let's see. What else do we have here? I forgot one more. Christine Spurlock. And the reason I mentioned her last is because there is another way. If you don't do Patreon, there's another way to do it, and that's just to there's a link on our website. If you do it through PayPal, like if you don't want to, for some reason you can't or don't want to do it through Patreon, you can go to PayPal, and it has the email that you would send the payments to, and you just pick the ones. So anyways, there's another way, and I forgot about her, so she's on that plan. So thank you all so much. Appreciate it. Then the last thing before we get going, we have a new sponsor, additional new sponsor, and that is someone that does pins, and it's Naomi, and over at Petra's Pentorium. So Naomi over at Petra's Pentorium. It's on Etsy, and she does these Disney-inspired pins, and they're really cool. They're different subjects. Like she has do you know that vintage popcorn box that you've seen with the stripes on it? She has like a pin that looks like that. They look really cool. They have a Frozen-inspired fantasy pins. They have a Big Mountain Big Thunder Mountain inspired pin. I'm getting all excited over it. And much more. There's others. I don't want to mention them all, but go over. You can search Petra's Pintorium, or go to our website, and there'll be a link on there eventually. If it's not on there right now, it will be there very soon. But I have Russell working on that. But you could also follow her on Instagram, and it's all one word, Petra's Pintorium. So Pintorium. And and then you put in the promo code sweep spot, one word, and you get 10% off. So definitely, we'll be mentioning her later, and we're going to have her on our show just for a little short conversation to talk about it, to advertise some more. But definitely go over and check those pins out. They look cool, and they make good gifts. Ken, whew, that was a lot.
Yeah.
Who was our guest tonight, Ken?
Oh, you mean there's more?
Yeah.
Well, there's more to the show than this.
I know.
People are really getting their money's worth.
It's extravaganza.
Yeah. Well, we have Chris Merritt. Now, Chris Merritt, we've actually had his dad on the show. Mm-hmm. And that's a rare distinction. There's like one other father-son duo that we've had on the show before. But, Chris Merritt is an art director, author, show designer. He's worked on theme park attractions, including those some at the Disneyland Resort. Mm-hmm. So he is a fascinating interview, and you have definitely enjoyed his work. And I'm looking forward to talking with him. He's a contemporary of us as far as age goes. And, and he's a mover and shaker in the theme park design industry. So I'm looking forward to that.
And an author of some great books. So
really great books, yes. Yeah. Almost as good as ours. No,
almost. Yeah, really looking forward to this interview, and I think you're really going to enjoy it.
In all seriousness, some of the best books you can find about Disney or theme park stuff, yes.
For sure. So. All right, let's get moving on with the show.
Hey, Lynn and Ken, it's Brian from the DCL Duo. Just wanted to say congratulations on hitting 300 episodes. It's awesome. We love the podcast. Thanks for doing it. Can't wait to hear more. Congratulations, guys.
Hi, Sweep Spot pals. It's Courtney and Emily from Book of the Mouse Club. We enjoyed having Lynn on our show to discuss your book, and it's amazing you've reached 300 episodes. Congratulations! And here's to 300 more.
Hi guys, it's Jason Ginsberg, the creator of Fake Theme Park. I want to congratulate you on 300 episodes. As a fellow former theme park employee, I can see that your love and knowledge of the parks shows through in every episode. So, congratulations.
Hey, this is Tig.
And this is Teresa from the DL Weekly podcast. Lynn and Ken, you have helped us and so many others this year keep Disneyland in our lives and in our hearts.
Congratulations on 300 episodes. We look forward to many more.
This is Jared from the Three Musketeers. Congratulations to Lynn and Ken for 300 episodes of The Sweep Spot. Nobody does it better.
Hi guys, congratulations on 300 episodes. In case you don't remember, I was a guest on one of your earlier shows, and it was the first time I ever appeared on a podcast. And I am eternally grateful because it was through that experience that I was able to start my own show, Jiminy Cricket's podcast. So here's to 300 fantastic episodes. I always enjoy hearing the perspective of people who worked in the park, and we share something else. I, too, was a custodian, although it was at Walt Disney World, so I do share many of those types of experiences with you as well. So here's to 300 more shows, and best of luck.
Hey guys, this is Randy Crane, host of Stories of the Magic and author of Once Upon Your Time and Faith in the Magic Kingdom. Congratulations on 300 episodes. That is a huge accomplishment, and you guys do a great job. Keep it up. Wonderful. 300 episodes. That's amazing.
Now we're going to have the current events. Ken, what do you have for us?
Nothing, Lynn. Absolutely nothing.
Oh, okay.
Well, in breaking news, it's our 300th episode. I don't know if you noticed, but it's
breaking.
300th episode. Okay. Well, we do have some news, and this comes from the Orange County Register and Brady McDonald. Disneyland gives renamed Snow White Dark Ride a new happily ever after ending. So this is back from December 21st, way back in the year 2020. But it says here, Disneyland has removed the scary ending from Snow White's Scary Adventures and one of the dwarves, and has added a happily, oh no, not the dwarves. They didn't remove any dwarves as far as I know, and added a happily ever after finale to the classic Fantasyland Dark Ride that'll return when the Anaheim theme park reopens following an extended coronavirus closure. Ding, 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 ding. Well, isn't he optimistic? You know, he actually expects it to reopen. But, okay. Later here in the article, it says the 1955 opening day attraction has been renamed Snow White's Enchanted Princess Pixie Sugar Rainbow Unicorn Wish.
Whoa.
Okay, so I added some words there. It's actually renamed Snow White's Enchanted Wish to reflect changes made to Disneyland's only ride-through princess attraction. The newly renovated Snow White attraction now concludes with the Disney princess reuniting with her animal friends as a castle shimmers in the distance. The ride previously concluded with a bolt of lightning, sending the evil queen tumbling to her death and exploding on impact from a mountaintop with
wow.
the explosions implied.
Sending her back to 1955. Oh,
from a mountaintop with a she hits 88 miles per hour and goes back to 1955. From a mountaintop with a terrifying scream. Was it really terrifying though? She's just Anyway,
I don't know. It happened so fast.
They should have replaced it with the Star Wars scream, like they have Buzz Lightyear do. Ah! Anyway, the extensive rehab added new music, LED black lighting, laser projections, animation systems, and audio-visual technology to the Dark Ride.
Cool.
A new snow. Yes. What?
Oh,
you going to say something?
No, that's cool. That sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds like they did a lot more than I expected them to do.
Mm-hmm.
It says a new Snow White audio animatronic figure will dance and twirl with the dwarves in their cottage as the scent of fresh-baked apple pie wafts through the air. Shadow projections will show the dwarves at work in the solar power plant. Oh, no, in the mine where jewels sparkle with new lighting effects. The exterior of the Fantasyland attraction has been updated with fairy tale inspired details designed to complement the recently refurbished Sleeping Beauty Castle. So, yeah. I mean, the official Disney Parks blog also had that story, and they've got video, and Laughing Place also covered it.
What do you think of that? Did you see the video, Ken?
I did.
What do you think?
I did. It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Of course, they're incorporating stuff that they did with the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train in the Magic Kingdom in Florida, which is smart. Why reinvent the wheel? Here's the one, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be nice. Here's my one reservation about it. Kids who are too timid to go on something like the Haunted Mansion or Thunder Mountain, or or maybe not even tall enough to do the Indiana Jones. They need something a little scary too.
Right.
At
their level.
At their level, exactly. And I'm sad that that's going to be gone. But, I'm glad they were willing to invest in freshening up the attraction. People complain about any change at all, And, all kidding aside, I know as I was, had those snarky inserts into the stories there, but all kidding aside, it's a good sign that the company was willing to do that. They might not do that for anything else for quite a while after all of these closures. They might say, we're not going to spend any money upgrading stuff. I mean, we took a huge financial hit.
Yeah.
They could have just left it, but they invested in it, and that's a good sign.
Yeah, it looks clean. They've done that with Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan, and now this one. So it would be really reassuring and comforting to see them do this to Mr. Toad. Only because, they got rid of the one in Florida, and I'd be afraid that would.
They got rid of the one in Florida? Why didn't anybody ever say anything?
So, you know what I mean by saying that? Like if they were to refresh Mr. Toad, it would make me feel good, because then I know they're not getting rid of it anytime soon. They just
I heard they're going to do that, but it's going to be all Teslas that you'll be riding in these little Teslas. So,
do you think they'd get rid of the health scene if they ever did touch it up?
Well, why not? That's very offensive, isn't it?
I don't know, not really, but.
I always liked it when you would see like nuns going on that ride, and you realize at the end they're ending up in hell. It's kind of like, it's pretty funny, but
yeah,
it's
anyhow. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm glad that when the park does reopen, that we'll have some new things to see. And speaking of that, right?
Well, yes. Another Orange County Register story from Brady McDonald. Disney confirms a 2021 opening date for Marvel's Avengers Campus. Now, as I probably have said before, I don't think they pick the headlines, the people who write the stories.
That's misleading, the headline, yeah. There's no date that's been picked.
It says in the article, the new Marvel-themed Avengers Campus will debut in 2021 at DCA, according to the D23 Disney Fan Club. Well, what's the alternative? I mean, they were supposed to open it last year. They couldn't do that. I guess the alternative is saying, we're going to delay it till 2022. I mean, they could, but at this point, I don't. Hopefully what they've been doing is working out all the bugs. Mm-hmm. Hopefully everything in there is going to run so smoothly because it's been operating for a while.
Yeah, and they did some cast member testing when one of our friends told me about it. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, it says here that Disneyland initially set a July 18th, 2020 opening date for Avengers Campus, just a few days before Disney's Anaheim theme parks closed in mid-March as the COVID-19 pandemic first threatened the United States. The opening date for the Avengers Campus had been pushed back to an indefinite coming soon until now. So,
it's still coming soon. I mean...
Can you imagine if this happened like when the rocket rides were new? Like they weren't open that long. They might have never opened. They might have never opened if it happened. If this happened with the rocket rides.
Oh yeah.
So all right. Well, the Avengers are going to come to Disney, and specifically California Adventure, and some people consider them heroes, and some people consider Imagineer Joe Rohde a hero, and he's retiring. Yes, he's retiring, and it's the Orange County Register did a big story. Imagineer Joe Rohde reflects on 40 years of dreaming up Disney theme park attractions. Joe Rohde is retiring as the best-known Imagineer working today after weaving inspiration from his globe-trotting travels into the narrative threads of the world-creating theme park projects he has shepherded during the past 4 decades. So in other words, he turned his vacations into a tax write-off. No, it just occurred to me that's what he's been doing all these years. No, the rebel-turned-teacher is known for leading Walt Disney Imagineering teams that designed and created the groundbreaking Animal Kingdom theme park, the Florida Park's heralded Expedition Everest roller coaster, and jaw-dropping Pandora, the World of Avatar themed land, Disney's Aulani Hotel in Hawaii, and the transformation of the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout attraction at DCA. So Rohde sat down for a wide-ranging virtual conversation, and what conversation with Joe is not, to discuss his impending, by the way, I didn't add that. That was actually in the story. Yeah. To discuss his impending retirement on Monday, January 4th. Rohde talked about his past, present, and future, and was, as always, thoughtful, introspective, and interesting. So it's quite an extensive story. It's not just like a 3-paragraph, Joe Rohde's retiring and he was involved in these projects. It's actually pretty extensive. So if you have access to that story, I will, all of these stories, by the way, will be listed in our current event show notes, as they always are, on the website at thesweepspot.com. But we only include quotes. We don't include the whole story because we don't want to get sued. Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. They talk about that inside the story here. And they said Rohde's final major Imagineering project seemed like an impossible idea when it was first announced. Retheme the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror indoor drop tower into the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. Adding to the improbable task, Rohde and his team were given a short time frame to complete the project, at least by Imagineering standards. Yep, and so there is the Laughing Place. LaughingPlace.com also covered his retirement. They had something called "Plot Lines Will Go On Forever. The Feeling Stays the Same." Things we learned from D23's interview with Joe Rohde. And they said, while Rohde is almost instantly recognizable to Disney park fans around the world, if not as himself, as Harrison Hightower from Tokyo's Tower of Terror, but more on that later, we still managed to learn a few new things from the interview. So that's fun. And you will have access to that story because they don't have it behind a paywall. It was a party that Rohde hosted at his home, covered in artifacts and things, that caught the attention of Rick Rothschild, who was producing a new entertainment venture outside the berm called Pleasure Island at Walt Disney World, where Rohde was loosely involved. According to Rohde, Rothschild came to him days after the party and said, "You know what? I have a job for you," and pitched the idea of a magic club / nightclub that had some kind of adventure theme. Wow. So that's how the Adventurers Club was born at Pleasure Island, which is now, eventually it became part of what was called Downtown Disney in Florida, and now that's called Disney Springs. Anyway, the greatest lesson that Rohde has taken away from his time at WDI, he says, is that before you start to make decisions and take on tremendous amount of work, you must first figure out fundamental reasons why you're doing this in the first place. What is this whole thing actually about? What are we trying to say? What does it mean? What's the emotion? What's the moral? What is this thing about? Rohde suggests figuring that out before you make the other decisions, or very quickly you get swept away by detailed decisions that don't add up. There's a lot of, fond farewells to him. That's in the Laughing Place story, but there, and like I already mentioned, the Orange County Register story. They said here in that Laughing Place story, they kind of, towards the end, it says, early on in the interview, Rohde was asked why he picked now as the perfect time to retire. After explaining that he liked the nice round number of years, he added, "And then the projects that I am working on are in pretty good condition, so it's a good time for me to be able to step away without leaving a lot of confusion. I just thought this is the time to do it. If I don't do it, it'll be like another 7-year cycle, at which point I'll likely be doddering out the door. I thought this was a really opportune time." And I just want to say that's a very, very good diplomatic response. Good for him.
Yeah.
Let's see. The LA Times also covered his retirement. Todd Martin's over there. So, and they said their headline was "Disney Parks Without Joe Rohde, a World Maker Retires. What's Next?" Joe's legacy, its animal kingdom and the art of Imagineering and communicating that art, says Tom Morris, an Imagineer who retired in 2016, after about 35 years with Disney. We know Tom Morris. Rohde is the rarest of Imagineers, says Morris. He is to the animal kingdom what Walt Disney is to Disneyland. That is, a designer so closely associated with the park that he set a template for future generations. He communicated both the process and the product appeal. I am concerned about who is going to take on that role now that Joe is gone. That's a, important consideration, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like I said, we will have those links at our website. Click through to check them out if you want to read the full stories, because they're quite extensive. There's a lot there. I can't imagine that, a book isn't far in the offering for him.
Hope so.
Now, unfortunately, along with retirements, we have some sad news to pass along. Legendary Disneyland photographer Renee Bardeau dies at 86. Renee?
Oh, I don't know. Is it Renee?
Renee Bardeau. So, that's pretty sad. He's taken a lot of iconic photos of Disneyland that you'd instantly recognize. He was responsible for one of the most iconic photos ever taken of the park, an image of Walt Disney strolling in front of Sleeping Beauty Castle. Snapped in 1964, it became known as the Footsteps photo and was subsequently printed and sold on shirts, coffee mugs, lithographs, and posters. He estimated that he had taken hundreds of thousands of other pictures over the years, including 100,000 of Mickey Mouse. Wow. Now, a lot of that was almost all of that was before digital photography. So he also shot celebrities. Talking about cameras now, folks. He also shot celebrities and royalty visiting the park, including Japanese Emperor Hirohito, Presidents Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon, Senator Robert Kennedy, astronaut John Glenn, actors Elizabeth Taylor, Cary Grant, and John Wayne. Wow. He went to apply for a part-time job as a photographer at Disneyland while still in school, after a friend tipped him off that the still new theme park was looking for someone, and he was hired by Walt Disney, and he began a summer job working at the park in 1959, and then went full-time in 1963 after college, moving his young family to Anaheim. Following his retirement in 1998, he was presented with a window on Main Street, USA, fittingly located above the Main Street Photo Supply Company. Disneyland said in its statement, it reads, "Kingdom Photo Services, the magic eye to the world." Renee Bardeau. So, he appreciated working for Walt Disney and loved to tell stories about him, including one about eating breakfast at the former Hills Brother Cafe on Main Street. "In comes Walt and asked me if he could sit down," Bardeau said in a 2011 interview. "So immediately a waitress comes over and asks, 'Can I help you, Mr. Disney?' Walt says, 'Yes, but remember, I'm Walt. There is only one Mr. in Disneyland, and that's Mr. Toad.'" That could have been before there was Mr. Lincoln and Mr. Smee. I don't know. And of course, now there's Mr. Bluebird. At least there was. I don't know if there will be. Bardeau said in an interview that his favorite photo was the final one he ever took of Walt Disney in the park, sitting in a fire truck next to Mickey Mouse with Sleeping Beauty Castle in the background. Disney died a few months later.
Wow,
Yeah.
so iconic. You know, the pictures you described, I know them exactly as you.
Yeah. And the other death that we must sadly reflect on is that Disney legend Ron Dominguez, a.k.a. Mr. Disneyland, passed away at age 85. And that was on January 1st. This Laughing Place reports Ron Dominguez, nicknamed Mr. Disneyland, grew up in the orange groves that became Disneyland when Walt Disney purchased them from his family in 1954. His childhood home became an administration building behind Main Street, USA, for a period before being demolished. A graduate of Anaheim High School and University of Arizona, Ron became a Disneyland cast member at the age of 20, shortly before the grand opening. His first day beginning on July 13th, 1955. His first role was as a ticket taker. By the end of 1956, he could brag that he had worked on every attraction in the park, and he was quickly promoted to supervisor, then manager, and by 1970, he was made director of operations. By 1974, he became vice president of Disneyland and chairman of the park operating committee, a role he kept until 1990 when he became executive vice president, Walt Disney Attractions West Coast. Retiring in 1994 at the age of 59, Ron Dominguez's legacy was celebrated with a window on Main Street and the Disney Legend Award, which he received in 2000. In addition to his work within the park, Ron helped build strong relationships between Disneyland and the city of Anaheim and was actively involved in the community as a volunteer with local organizations. I tell you, both visiting there as a guest and working there, it was always something to see him because it's like, dude, that's Ron Dominguez. You know, he lived here before it was Disneyland. You know, and he was the epitome. I mean, it's like, was he the quintessential cast member personality because he set that tone, or did he just happen to have that tone, and it worked out that he became a Disneyland cast member? I mean, you know, he was a model of, you know, how you behave in front of the guests as a cast member. I mean, and he was very approachable. Just one of the original guys who was in charge of the park. And then, you know, everything changed after those guys retired. But it was nice to be able to meet him and, you know, to see him. And it was like, before he was even named a Disney legend, he was a living legend. You know, it was like, dude, there's Ron Dominguez, you know, we're not worthy. Disney in the late 80s, early 90s, Disney really, really made a push, as did a lot of companies, to say, hey, let's really reach out to the Spanish speaking market. And so they made like there's like a 60-second commercial. It's on YouTube, where it features Ron Dominguez. And it points out, hey, he's in charge here at Disneyland, and he grew up here, and he speaks Spanish, and, you know, come on down to Disneyland. So that was quite interesting. It was clever marketing. And Mouse Planet also covered that. They quoted some stuff from Mark Eads, as he reported for the Disneyland Alumni Club. And it says here, according to Ron, our house was located right about where the entrance to Pirates of the Caribbean and Cafe Orleans are today. When his family moved out of their house in August 1954, they had to navigate their way around ditches and holes as construction had started on the park.
Man, can you imagine?
Yep. And you know what? He was also a member of the Order of the Red Handkerchief. And so can you imagine, you know, being in that club, you had access to Ron Dominguez. So one final story I wanted to mention, and it's mainly focused on knots. There was a story, again by Brady, that says, meet the person who transformed Knott's Berry Farm into a food festival venue. and it's all about John Storbeck, who runs Knott's these days. As it says here, and this is why I'm including him in the story here, as in full disclosure, we know him. We interacted with him while we worked at the park. I've actually been at Knott's, and I'm not wearing a name tag or anything. I'm just there as a guest and don't have my name on my shirt. And he goes, "Oh, hey, Ken," so he knows us and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So, Storbeck, 61, joined Knott's in 2016 after more than 30 years of working for Disney. The North Tustin resident started at Disneyland after college as a ride operator and rose to the top ranks, serving as vice president of Downtown Disney and Disney's 3 Anaheim hotels. And then he retired from Disney and went to go head up Knott's, and Knott's is for the better for it. Mm-hmm. As it says here in the article, because what they did is basically the park's not open, except they do let you in for some dining. And it says the taste events helped bring back nearly 2,000 Knott's part-timers who joined 500 full-timers. The special events generate revenue that help pay staff salaries, but it's nowhere near what Knott's brings in when the park is fully operational. And they have a quote from Storbeck here. "As far as making money, what I will tell you is that by offering these events, we're losing less." Knott's made a commitment to keep full-time employees on the job during the pandemic, he said. "It was good for us psychologically to get open," Storbeck said. It's great for us to do what we do and entertain people. That's what we live for." And as they say towards the end of the article, only about 20% of those attending the taste events have been not season pass holders, which was surprising to Storbeck. You know what? It doesn't surprise me. We are season pass holders and we haven't gone. You know why? Because if I take my kids there, they're going to be very upset that they can't do the attractions.
Yeah.
So it's just easier to stay away,
But you can't, with things going the way California is right now, you can't even eat there, right? Now, currently.
I think you can. But
you gotta take it to go.
Maybe it's on or off. Yeah, you know what? You're probably right. I think they had to cancel for a while, but hopefully they'll be back to doing that
I hope so.
soon. Hopefully the whole park will be open soon. But you know what? Who's keeping up on all of that as far as Disney parks go is our friends at concierge.com. CONCIEARS, like concierge, like mouse ears. Concierge.com. They are keeping up to date on everything, including plans for the Disney Cruise Line and Adventures by Disney. If you want to get your next Disney getaway vacation planned, go to concierge.com, contact them, tell them you're looking to go to Walt Disney World, which is open, or Disneyland when it reopens, or Disney's Aulani in Hawaii, or when the cruise lines come back, or Adventures by Disney's come back. They'll know all about it. They can do all the heavy lifting for you. It's not going to add any cost to your vacation. It's just going to reduce your stress a whole lot, and they'll know things that you wouldn't know unless you spend a lot of time researching. So go to concierge.com, tell them the Sweep Spot sent you when you book with them, and you'll get a special gift. So thank you to Concierge, and
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Ken.
Derek and Doug here from Rope Drop Radio, and we just wanted to say congratulations, guys. 300 episodes. Each one of them has been fantastic. We love subscribing and listening to you guys. We loved when you were on our show, but seriously, congratulations from one set of podcasters to another.
Yeah, the Sweep Spot making it to 300. That's pretty awesome. Hopefully, Derek, we get there
Someday.
We're trying. We've enjoyed the books, the cleaning the kingdom, so keep up the great work. Keep cleaning the kingdom for us.
Hi, I'm Aljon Go.
And I'm Dave Bossard. We co-host the Skull Rock Podcast.
And we'd like to congratulate the Sweep Spot Podcast for 300 episodes. What a milestone.
Wow, what a milestone.
300
podcasts? You think we'll ever get there, Aljon?
Someday, Dave. Someday we'll get there.
Well, congratulations to the Sweet Spot and keep up the great work.
That's right. Congratulations, Lynn and Ken, for this awesome milestone. Congratulations on the podcast and for being part of the Disney podcast community. I'm Al John.
And I'm Kristen of the Disney List podcast.
Congratulations, Lynn and Ken, on 300 episodes of the Sweet Spot podcast. What a awesome feat that is.
Woohoo!
Congratulations,
guys.
This is Todd James Pierce, and I'm sending out some deep congratulations to Lynn and Ken at the Sweep Spot for recording, editing, finalizing, and posting 300 amazing episodes. Here's to many, many more.
Hey, Lynn and Ken, this is Russ Flores, the author of the Seen Unseen Disneyland book series and also known as the Sweep Spot webmaster. Wow, 300 episodes. I've been listening since episode 9. Over all those episodes, you two have become some of my greatest Disney friends. I can't wait to hear the next 300 episodes. Thanks again, and can't wait to see you guys at Disneyland.
Hello, Sweep Spot listeners. I am Joshua Schaefer, author of Discovering the Magic Kingdom. I was in episode 187. Congratulations to Lynn and Ken for making it to 300 episodes and making it one of the best Disney podcasts out there. I hope everybody has great things happen in 2021, and I am looking forward to new episodes of the show.
Hey everyone, this is Ruthie, co-host of the Jiminy Crickets podcast and Dateline Jiminy Crickets. I just want to say congratulations to Ken and Lynn on 300 wonderful episodes of the Sweep Spot podcast. Thank you for all the amazing interviews and discussions about my favorite place on earth, my home away from home, Disneyland. Some of my favorite episodes that you guys do are when you look back on past versions of the park. Growing up in Southern California, it's always fun for me to remember what the park used to be like when I was younger, and these episodes take me right back. But my fondest memory is meeting both of you guys in person at the last D23 Expo and getting my copy of Cleaning with the Kingdom signed. You guys have created a vast library of content for everyone to enjoy for years to come, and all of us Disneyland fans look forward to many, many, many more episodes. Thank you, Ken and Lynn, for everything. You guys are awesome.
Hello everyone, I'm Mike Renfro with Concierge, and welcome to the D180. While Ken and Lynn cover all things Disneyland, in the D180 we take a spin around the rest of the Disney universe, and we do it in 180 seconds. So let's jump right in. Come on now, let's face it, 2020 was rough. And when they announced Disney wasn't even going to light Cinderella's castle for Christmas, I can remember telling my wife, what a crappy end to a crappy year. And that, I think, is probably a massive understatement. And as we say goodbye to a year that we all want to forget, let's not dwell on the negative. Let's aim our focus on the future and what is to come. Let's be optimistic and build some excitement for our future Disney family vacations. With that in mind, I want to offer up the 1, 2, 3 things to be especially excited about for Walt Disney World in 2021. Remember what Walt himself said, never get bored or cynical. Yesterday is a thing of the past. Number 1, one amazing resort. It is time to get excited about one of the most highly anticipated resort openings in recent memory, the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser Resort Experience. This 2-night all-immersive adventure will be the crown jewel in Disney's Star Wars Universe park expansion. Located behind Hollywood Studios, you and your family will board the Halacron Star Cruiser by checking in at the terminal building and then through launch pods, blasting off for a rendezvous with the ship. Your stateroom on board the vessel will include window views of deep space where you might catch a glimpse of a passing ship or other galactic sightseeing. There will be plenty for the Star Wars fans in your family to enjoy, with everything from lightsaber training to various missions around the ship. And of course, the trip wouldn't be complete without an excursion down to the local planet you may have heard of, Batuu. It's going to be awesome. Number 2, new shows. While there's a couple to choose from, Drawn to Life, the first ever collaboration between Cirque du Soleil, Walt Disney Animation Studios, and Walt Disney Imagineering, is the top of my list. In Drawn to Life, your family will be able to journey into the world where an animator's desk becomes the stage and drawings come to life. According to Disney, the show is meant to be a celebration of life in a way that can only be showcased by the talent and mesmerizing acrobatic mastery of the Cirque du Soleil team. The show's story centers on a little girl, Julie, raised by an animator, and who adventures into the world of animation to learn for herself the art form's beauty. According to Fabrice Becker, the show's creative director, the show will follow her as she eventually grows into a great animator herself. Becker goes on to say that it is a universal story about passing legacy and values from a parent to a child and will sure to connect with the audience emotionally. If you're looking for something to inspire and touch the heart of your entire family in 2021, look no further than Drawn to Life. Number 3, new rides. Let's finish our list with the always popular topic of new rides, and 2021 should bring plenty of excitement in this area. But the top of my list is the Tron Light Cycle Run, the newest roller coaster to grace the Magic Kingdom since 2014. The sister version of this ride is the highest rated attraction at Shanghai Disney, and it was announced back in 2017 that it would make its debut in the Magic Kingdom as part of the 50th anniversary celebration. Located in an entirely new space next to the classic favorite Space Mountain, it will not take up any extra existing Magic Kingdom real estate, which is perfect. As the first piece of the futuristic looking canopy was just recently installed, work on the ride is progressing nicely. With a stationary launch system, similar to that used on Rock and Roller Coaster at Hollywood Studios, combined with projection, mirrors, and lighting that is out of this world, especially at night, there is no doubt why Disney decided to bring this show-stopping ride to the Magic Kingdom. If you haven't had a chance to check this ride out on YouTube yet for the Shanghai version, go and do it right now. You will be thrilled. And there you have it. That's my 1, 2, 3 reasons to be excited about Walt Disney World in 2021. Be confident, it's going to be a great year, and we at Concierge are excited to be here with you. And that's 180 seconds. I hope you enjoyed our quick Disney update. If you'd like to learn more about these Disney adventures or many others, please come on over and visit us on our Facebook pages or the websites of both The Sweep Spot and us, their official travel planners, Concierge. We look forward to planning something special for you and your family. I'm Mike Renfro, and this has been your D180.
Mark Brickey from Adventures in Design and Disneyland for Designers here. Hey Glenn, hey Ben, I want to congratulate you guys on doing the Sweepy Spot now 300 episodes. Oh, I remember my 300th episode. It was just only years ago, because when I get back from my holiday break, I'll be hitting 1,300 episodes. That's right, boys. You got 1,000 to catch up with me. So if you guys need any advice, just let me know, because I'm a little bit further up the road than you. But I will say this. When I get to my 3,000th episode, I'm going to retire. And my retirement job is I want to get a job out of the Disneyland Resort, sweeping up trash and offering guests the best directions to get over to the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Wait a minute. You guys have already done my dream retirement job, so am I in first place, or are you in first place? Either way, Glenn and Ben, I love the Sweepy Spot. Keep on sweeping, keep on potting. Disneyland will never fully be completed until all the trash is in the bins. And for that, we thank you for your service.
Hey, Lynn and Ken, 300 shows. Oh, wow. 300 episodes of the Sweep Spot. That's amazing. I mean, well, much like the 300 Spartans fighting at Thermopylae, I know it can be a major battle to keep on keeping on and churning out podcasts week after week. You guys are really doing it though, man. And you're really giving people something to look forward to, especially during this particularly hard time. So on behalf of the Mousetalgia Podcast and DoomBuggies.com, this is Jeff Bam, and I just want to say hats off to you guys. And here's to the next 300. Congratulations.
Hello, Sweep Spot listeners. This is Hazen from the Podcateers Podcast. Just wanted to wish Lynn and Ken congratulations on hitting episode 300. This is a huge milestone for a podcast to hit. It's always great hearing about your experiences while working at the park. Your books are great, and I know your listeners completely agree. So again, congrats on reaching episode 300. Cheers.
Hey everybody, it's Daniel from the Diz Geek Podcast, and I'd like to congratulate Lynn and the Sweep Spot Podcast on 300 episodes. That is quite a milestone. It's incredible. Sort of makes me feel, I can't get to 300 episodes. I can barely get to 200 episodes. So, yeah, Lynn, that's 300 episodes. That's, wonderful. But anyway, Congratulations, guys. That's incredible. It shows your passion. It shows your dedication to Disney theme parks around the world. It's wonderful. You guys are awesome. See you soon. See you at 500. And then, by then I'll be up to 300. So that'll be great.
Hey, Ken and Lynn, it's Scott Storm and Aaron Robbins from the Bobsleds and Banthas podcast. Just wishing you a huge congratulations on making it to episode number 300. 300! That's enormous in podcast terms. You deserve all the congratulations that are due to you. You have consistently put out fantastic show. Your listeners love you. We love you. We love listening every single time you release an episode and have been enjoying the mini episodes released by Lynn. We're so happy to be a part of your Sweep Spot family, and we look forward to working with you guys more in 2021 and beyond. And also, the nicest guys in podcasting. Am I right, Aaron?
Oh, yeah, definitely nice guys in podcasting. I mean, probably I'll go a step further and say probably even outside of podcasting, they're nice guys. I think that's true of Lynn, probably of Ken. Way to go, guys. 300 episodes. Thank you so much for all the time and effort and care you have put into creating content for Disneyland and Disney fans such as myself. We appreciate everything that you've done. Congratulations. Here's to those 300 episodes and to 300 more. If you guys do one a day in 2021, you can get to 600 and you get 65 days off. Look at that. And you can even take those 65 days whenever you want. I don't care. I'm not going to check in, but let's get those 300 episodes out. Congratulations, you guys. Keep up the great work.
Hey there, this is Mark.
And Jess.
And Udi. Hey, we are the Leaving Today podcast, and we want to give a special shout out to the Sweep Spot. Congratulations on 300 episodes.
Quite a milestone. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, guys.
Thank you for all your hard work and your dedication to bringing some of the Disney magic home. Definitely one of the podcasts we like and love, and here's to 300 more from us.
Yep, congrats.
Congratulations.
Well, hello, everyone. Paul Berry here from the windowtothemagic.com podcast. And I just wanted to stop in here real quick and give a quick congratulations to Lynn and the rest of the Sweep Spot podcasting team on the milestone of reaching 300 episodes. I remember when Window to the Magic reached 300 episodes, and I was so proud of my team for having reached that milestone. And now, here you guys are. I certainly hope that you guys are enjoying podcasting today as much as you were when you hit record on that very first show. Again, congratulations to everyone involved from myself and the entire windowtothemagic.com podcast team. Happy Christmarama Hanukkah to all of you, a happy new year, and we will see you all real soon.
So, Chris, what are your earliest memories of Disneyland? Like, how often would you go while you were growing up? Was it a place for you just for the rides, or did you perceive it as something more than that?
Well, I think on a subconscious level, I think I probably was perceiving it as something more than that. It was magical to me. But I probably was more and or all about the rides at an early age. I was really fortunate to grow up in Southern California. So I was born in the 1970, and my dad worked at a small television station in a retirement community. Ken probably knows it, called Leisure World.
Oh yeah, Seal Beach.
Yeah. Not the Seal Beach one, actually. They call it Laguna Woods now, which is a bit much, but Laguna Hill.
Yeah.
Anyway, they had, it was literally the plot of, Anchorman, the Will Ferrell movie. And they have this super small TV studio. Anyway, long story short, he got press freebies a lot. So we got to go to Disneyland a lot for free. I would say probably 2 to 3 times a year. And we certainly didn't have a lot of money in those days, and everything was ticket books. So to get a press freebie, for the day, and to have like an unlimited pass, to ride the rides as much as you wanted. That was amazing. So I was really fortunate, and I think that's really where I caught the bug. That and going to Knott's Berry Farm a lot. We didn't make it up to Universal Studios that much because it was, Los Angeles and 5 million miles away in my small, undeveloped mind. But I loved the rides. I loved the attractions. As most people are, I was nuts for Pirates of the Caribbean. I was nuts for Haunted Mansion. And Jungle Cruise, of course. In fact, some of my earliest memories are going on the Jungle Cruise and, asking my parents, are those animals real? I have these fleeting Zapruder film-like, memories of going on Nature's Wonderland and seeing the bobcat on the cactus, and Adventure Through Inner Space always fascinated me because it was this surreal, psychedelic almost attraction. Disneyland was just always magical to me, and I was kind of obsessed with it from an early age, even though I didn't really realize, I think, until I got into college that I wanted to be a theme park designer. So I don't know. Hopefully that answers your question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you led perfectly into the second question that I had here was, when did you realize you wanted to get into theme park design?
Yeah. Well, I think subconsciously I knew that. I was always kind of obsessed. I thought, by the time I was a senior in high school, I went to high school in Orange County, I thought I wanted to be an animator, and I kind of had loved all things Disney. And it's really surprising to me that I didn't kind of hone in on the theme park design part of it sooner. I thought I would, but I was thinking, well, what could I do? I was always very artistic. I had really gotten a lot out of doing plays and theater in high school. I certainly wasn't a jock or a sports kind of guy, so I got a lot out of the musical theater and had all my friends and kind of that group. And I decided I wanted to be an animator. So my thought was, well, I'll go to community college, for 2 years, get my academics out of the way, and then I wanted to go to CalArts. Like I just kind of had made up my mind, well, I'm going to go to CalArts and I'm going to be a character animator, which I did end up going to CalArts, but I've never animated in my life. But so that interim between the end of high school and and about 2 years before I went to CalArts, I took a part-time job at Disneyland, and I'd always wanted to since I was a little kid. I almost feel like, the Jungle Cruise was kind of my first big attraction that really, always spoke to me and I loved. And I was able to finagle my way into getting my first job as a Jungle Cruise skipper. And so, but then again, at that time, I still thought I wanted to be an animator, and I was, applying to CalArts at that time. So this kind of leads into the Marc Davis book and my relationship with Marc and Alice Davis. But during that time I was a Jungle Cruise skipper, they had just opened the Disney Gallery in the Walt Disney apartment area that they had designed for him. They turned it into the gallery, and the first exhibit was a whole exhibit on Imagineering. And I remember going on my break, in between taking guests out into the jungle, I remember going upstairs to look at the exhibit. Now, I don't know why I was allowed to do this, actually, in retrospect.
Yeah. I was just thinking that.
Because I was in full skipper, costume, right? Like I wasn't taking my break.
Yeah.
Anyway, so. But I was going up, and I was, fascinated, because at that time in the early 90s, there wasn't a lot of material out there on theme park design or theme park history. It wasn't really taken as a semi-legitimate thing to study or write books about. There was very little information out there on it. And anyway, so I was kind of fascinated, wanted to learn more, and so I went up and I looked, and looking at all people like John Hench and Herbie Ryman and Mary Blair and Dorothea Redmond, and then I came to the Marc Davis stuff, and when I saw the Marc Davis stuff, like my brain exploded, right? I said, oh my gosh, that's the guy! Like that's the guy I've been looking at all my life. So as a little kid, I was lucky enough to have this Pirates of the Caribbean souvenir guidebook. And, and I still have it, and it's well worn, and all the pages are falling out. And one of the reasons is because I used to copy what I found out were Marc's drawings, and that amazing Sam McKim map on the end pages And it was one of the things that I credit with helping me learn how to draw, was looking at this Marc Davis artwork. So I was completely amazed. I was like, wow, that's the guy. Like, that's the guy who designed all the funny elephants in the elephant bathing pool, and the pirates and Pirates of the Caribbean, and did all the great gags in the Haunted Mansion. This is still prior to actually starting at CalArts. Mm-hmm. So actually, this is late 1989, early 1990, and I was so kind of amazed, and again, I'm probably leading the next question you guys have on this on the Marc book, but I was in the middle of a art history class, and I had to write a paper on a modern artist, and I thought, well, I want to write a paper on Marc Davis. So I didn't know how to get in touch with Marc, and I wrote him a letter cold saying, Mr. Davis, would you let me interview you for this paper? And just sent it up to the studio and said, would you please forward this to Marc Davis? And, thought I had maybe about a 50% chance of it actually getting anywhere near him. And a couple of weeks later, I got a really nice letter back in the mail from Marc, and saying my wife Alice and I would be happy to talk to you and come on up. And I was kind of flabbergasted. So that's kind of how I started my relationship with them. And, I was fascinated with it. But by the time I got to CalArts and spent my first year animating, I found out that I really didn't enjoy the mechanics of it. Animating, especially, when you're learning, is incredibly labor intensive. And I just couldn't see myself drawing characters, going from point A to point B the rest of my life. And I realized I was really, really in love with theme park design. And so I told Marc, I had been fortunate enough to kind of have a relationship with Marc and Alice by then. And I'd go up and visit with them and go to lunch with them and get their advice on things. And I just told them, I said, well, I'm going to drop out of CalArts because I want to be a theme park designer, and I think I want to be an Imagineer, and there's no school to learn that. And Alice Davis said, the hell you will. and so it turns out Alice went to Chenard Art Institute, which is what turned into CalArts eventually. But Marc was an instructor at Chenard, and Alice was a student at Chenard. And Alice went to school with Bob Winquist, who ran the character animation department at CalArts. And in fact, I'm sure some people who are listening know this, but it's kind of funny because the room number for the character animation department, which is a giant space actually, says A113. And you see that A113 like in every Pixar movie and other animated movies too. I think it's in the Iron Giant. It's almost like a rite of passage that animators who go to CalArts, put the A113 somewhere. And I just saw this last week. It's actually in Seoul, too, on a street corner.
Oh, cool.
Sign, so it's everywhere. But anyway, so Alice was friends with Bob Winquist, who was an amazing person that not enough people know about. Amazing designer, interesting guy, incredibly supportive to all of us in the animation department. And she called him up and said, Chris Merritt doesn't want to do animation. He wants to do theme park design. And will you let him come up with ideas for rides and still graduate? And so he said yes, and they set it up that way. So that was kind of my start. And and so I came up with my own, idea for a ride based on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and that's kind of where it went from there. Several years of struggling, trying to get my foot in the industry, and then eventually in 1996, my good friend Larry Nicolai really brought me in. And I think, that's still either the best way to become an Imagineer or any theme park designer if you want to work for Universal Creative is to either get in through nepotism, right, which is kind of how I got in through Larry, who started me off in the model shop, which is, starting at working your way up, but I'm really glad I did that. Or starting out as an intern, finding a way to become an intern there, and then working your way up from there. And that seems to be the way most people get into the industry, because it is an incredibly competitive industry and very difficult to get into. So there's your 2-hour answer to a 5-second question.
Well, I was just thinking when you were talking about Marc and Alice and how open they were to inviting you over.
Yeah.
I mean, that just says a lot about them and their characters and just how much they care about the art itself and other people, you know.
Man, they're so amazing. I mean, I can't thank them enough, you know. And you know, I let Alice know, you know, when Pete and I did this book on Marc, I just, you know, it was really nice because, you know, I never told her, you know, how much she meant to me and how much that meant to me. And I'm certainly not the only young starving artist that she brought in. I mean, she, you know, they had Pete Doctor over, they had all kinds. There are probably hundreds of students out there because, you know, Marc and Alice never had children. You know, they had dogs, which they were cast of dogs. But they were so open, they open to a fault, really. I think some people, you know, took advantage of that, to be honest. But if you got in touch with Marc and Alice and you said, "Can I come visit with you?" They'd say, "Sure, come on over." And Marc would make you cocktails, and Alice would feed you. And then, you know, and you're sitting there.
Yeah.
Basically a house that's like a museum surrounded by this amazing Papua New Guinea artifacts and all this original artwork by Marc and original Mary Blair's and, you know, artwork by Virgil Parch and just, I mean, it's just, you know, and pictures of Marc with Walt and designing Bear Band. And I mean, it was amazing. It was and continues to be amazing. So I couldn't thank them enough. And I let Alice know when we started this book project how much it meant to me. And in a sense, and I think Pete would concur with this, you know, the big 2-volume Marc Davis designing, you know, Disney in his own words. I'm butchering the name of my book, but it's, you know, Marc Davis in his own words designing the Disney theme parks. That's it. It was a way of us saying thank you to them because Marc, when he was alive, really always wanted a kind of definitive book on him. And I think he probably wanted a definitive book on his whole career. But I kind of felt like, well, first of all, my main interest and passion is theme park history too. Right. And I felt like, you know, the animation, there are, you know, so many books on animation and so many of them go into the work that Marc did there. But I felt like really none of them had done anywhere near justice to the work he did at Imagineering. So this book was really a labor of love and a way for Pete and I to say thank you to them, really.
Well, would you say, I mean, Marc, among others, were probably the first generation, you know, park designers, Imagineers at the time, and probably like Tony Baxter and Joe Rohde, Tom Morris were probably the second. Would you consider yourself maybe part of the third?
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, you know. I've come and gone 3 times now, so
right.
It's hard for me to sit back from myself and say that or judge that. Maybe.
Right. Well, I would say then that I think you are.
Well, you mentioned that brings up another thing because you mentioned how oh gosh, how difficult it is to get in, right? You know,
right.
Because you know, nepotism or you know, intern. But another thing is just that it doesn't seem like, you know, okay, like people today, they look at people like Tony Baxter or Joe Rohde, and they go, "Well, look at how many decades those guys spent at Imagineering." But the reality is, it's not it's not all that stable. If you need stability, right? If you need to like go to work in Burbank every day or Glendale day in and day out for, you know, years on end and steady employment and all that sort of thing, it's really not the kind of thing that that people would be doing these days. They need to expect to work in various locales, you know, internationally, and also be willing to go from company to company. Correct? I mean, that's the nature of what things are these days.
It can be. It certainly has been my career path, jumping from company to company and going international. And I just, you know, and that certainly was not my preference, right? I mean, I think like many people, I would have liked to stay put in one place, especially if, you know, you have a family with kids. That's always challenging. But the reality of the situation was, you know, with this recent round of layoffs, I've been laid off 3 times. And the reality of the situation is, well, you need to go where the work is. And I do feel that I've been incredibly fortunate in that, even though, my preference would have been to stay put, I've been really lucky enough to work on many high-profile attractions. I feel like my portfolio has a lot of really high-end stuff in it, and I feel very fortunate to have done the work that I've done, whether it's been as, working in the model shop and being allowed to do some design, or being the creative director or the art director on something and having complete control. I've run the gamut back and forth several times. So I don't know. I'm proud of the work that I've done. I'm super proud of the work that I did along with Jim Clark and Ted Robledo and the rest of the team on the new Beauty and the Beast attraction for Tokyo Disneyland, because I think it's a kind of a game changer. And the work that I've done on the Tinkerbell ride and the Frozen e-ticket for the upcoming Fantasy Springs at Tokyo Disney Sea, which is kind of going to be like Tokyo Disney Sea's Fantasyland. I mean, it's people's brains are going to explode when they see what this thing is. It's really, really epic. So yeah, so that's all really exciting.
Yeah. Aside from those things, what are some of the things that Disneyland or just Disney park guests in general might have experienced that you've been involved with?
Well, if we're talking Disneyland in California, the biggest things that I've been involved with would be I was a show designer. I worked with Tom Morris on Radiator Springs Racers, so did a lot of the layouts and elevations and scene design after the fact, after a gentleman named Robert Coltrane, who's kind of this amazing master planner who retired, I think last year, or 2 years ago rather now. And I did a lot of work on that, so I'm pretty proud of the work I did on Radiator Springs Racers. I'm proud of the work that I did on the Little Mermaid attraction that Larry Nicolai was the art director on, and got to work with. So Larry's a really good friend of mine to this day, and Chris Crump, who is Rolly Crump's son. And then on the other side of the Esplanade at Disneyland, the one that I'm really proud of is I was the art director, creative director, what have you, on the Sleeping Beauty Castle walkthrough with Tony Baxter. And we took that basically back to its 1957 roots. And, the way that Ken Anderson really was the designer, art director for the castle walkthrough, although he relied heavily on Ivan Earle's illustrations. They were in production on Sleeping Beauty, the film at that time, which wouldn't come out for another couple of years. So it's interesting that an attraction opened related to a film that was still in production, when it opened. But I'm really proud of that because it was really fun for the historian side of me to kind of try and dig up as much as we could on what Ken Anderson had done in the 50s, and then try and make it work with all the technology at our fingertips today. So I'm very, very happy with how that turned out and very proud of it. And the only thing I would say is, friends and family, people will ask me that. So what have you worked on? And I said, well, go see the castle walkthrough. And it's so easy to miss. You walk through the over the drawbridge and through the portal into Fantasyland, and if you don't make a hard left immediately and kind of turn around, you'll really miss the entrance. So it's an easy one to miss. But I think it's a little jewel of an attraction, and I think it's it's definitely an homage to the way they used to do things. And I, as a kid, really loved making little shoebox dioramas. Did you guys ever do those, like in elementary school?
Yeah.
You take a shoebox, and I remember I did one with like scenes from Star Wars, or I did one with a scene from The Hobbit. I was kind of, as a kid, I was obsessed with the Rankin Bass animated version of The Hobbit, which I think is reviled by a lot of people, but it hit me at that that time when I had that mental window open. So I love the look of the Rankin Bass Hobbit. Yeah, so shoebox diorama. So it really is like the ultimate shoebox diorama, and I was just really fortunate and happy and grateful that Tony made me the art director on that, and I got to work on an attraction with Tony, which was great. So
Well, none of us wanted that reopened, and we all hate Radiator Springs racers, right? Right, Lynn?
Yeah.
No, those are two great things. Those are two great things, and it's such a contrast too, because of course Radiator Springs Racers is like a big e-ticket, in California Adventure, and then the Sleeping Beauty, as you said, it's tucked away. It's kind of this thing that a lot of people might not even know it's there, but it's something that you can go and kind of do leisurely. You're not strapped in with a seat belt and a harness and a horse collar and okay, you better hold on and you better save the universe, otherwise it's up to you to save the universe. It's nothing like that. It's like this nice little leisurely thing you can do.
Well, there's something to be said for that, and actually I think it's kind of good in a weird way that it's in that location because less people find it. But then when people do find it, it's like this little jewel, right? It's like this little thing that is kind of magical and beautiful. And then just the fact that it's in the castle, right, which is, the icon of Disneyland and has been for forever. That's just magical on its face. But I was really glad that we were able to bring it back to what it was because, it had been shut down for several years when we got to it. And oh boy, there's a lot I could say about that, but I won't. But I'm really grateful that we got the chance to bring it back to what it once was, and in those same spaces, do those scenes the way that Ken Anderson wanted them to be done. The goal was also to bring in some modern technology to it, so it's kind of a hybrid. There's modern technology, there's old school, Pepper's Ghost effects. And the other goal was just to try and make the set pieces look like they were hand painted by Ivan Earl. I'd always loved the look of the film Sleeping Beauty, but working on that project really brought it home to me. And it was a really small, tight team, but I was really fortunate in that I had a lady named Andrea Bottensino, who's an amazing painter and had been with Imagineering for years. She was my color designer on it. So she, I hand drew every flat in that show, and she hand painted every flat in that show. And it was really cool because she was able to check out the originals by Ivan Earl so she could match the colors by eye. Because just getting a scan of Ivan Earl artwork, it's almost impossible to get the colors exactly right. And she just nailed it. She was able to do the Ivan Earl style like no one's business. So that was really cool.
Well, you did. It looks beautiful. I always, it's a nice place to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so would you say that, having been a Jungle Cruise skipper, does that really give you a kind of a better understanding of that helps you with the design aspect, just this is how the park really functions, and this is what, the ride operators are dealing with.
Right.
This is, does it give you sort of, and even especially the Jungle Cruise, you're talking about comedy timing and stuff like that. I would imagine that gave you that informed you somewhat in your design abilities.
Yeah, well, I've been of the belief for a long time that a stint down working at the park, like in the trenches, as they say, is really, really invaluable and actually important. I actually, I've been in meetings with designers who just come straight out of college, and some really, impressive colleges, but they never worked at the park level, and they don't really understand what day-to-day operations are like and what it's like to move guests through a space and what sort of situations you have. I mean, just interfacing with ops in general is a whole thing. But I think it's actually a really important skill to have as a theme park designer, because otherwise you're kind of coming in and starting out, you're flying blind. I mean, there's certainly people who have not worked at the parks who've gone on to design really amazing, wonderful things. But I think having that in your tool belt, I think is really helpful. I'm really appreciative for the time I spent. I really only spent about a year and a half working as in Department 951, which is Adventureland, Frontierland, or was. I don't know if they still call it that or not. But you guys know. I mean, you guys worked in the parks. You know what it's like. It's just it's a totally different thing to be having lived that and worked that, and see how the sausage gets made. Right.
Yes.
As opposed to just always being in an air-conditioned office and designing to that, and maybe not necessarily understanding the operational needs, the guest needs, guest expectations, what's going to work, what's not. Particularly in designing things that are not going to work long term, and you're going to spend a lot of money and a lot of effort on. And then, you'll open up your show and people will be impressed. And then in 2 weeks, ops turns it off because it's just not working, or it's so much of a hassle, or it's not doing. You know what I mean?
They don't want to maintain it.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. That's how, we almost lost the sub voyage, right? I mean, thank God for Bruce Gordon and Tony Baxter and everyone else who, at least, whether you like the Finding Nemo overlay or not, at least the attraction is still there, unlike Florida, right?
Agreed. Yeah.
Because what starts happening if it's too much of a pain, if it's too much of a time suck and a manpower suck and a money suck, it's gonna go.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the Jungle Cruise would probably be gone if it wasn't so iconic to the company.
Well, it takes up a big footprint too. It takes up a lot of real estate. I would say it's worth it, but there are other attractions which maybe I won't name that take up big footprints that I think maybe are not worth it, even if they came in 1955. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to give you the chance to tell the audience. I mean, most of our listeners, they should already know about your book, because I was telling people, last year, it's like, okay, if you buy one book, maybe buy the Marc Davis book. but if you buy 2 books, get our book too. But tell, in case there's people listening who just don't know much about it. Tell people about this magnificent thing you're the co-author of.
Right. Well, okay. So both Pete Docter and myself were big fans of Marc and Alice Davis, and spent a lot of time with them, and we're very fortunate. And I say, Pete was going over there and bugging Marc about how did you animate Maleficent, and I was bugging him about, how did you design, Big Al and the Country Bear Jamboree, or how did you stage the singing opera ghosts in the Haunted Mansion, and how do you do this, by the way? Because there's nowhere for me to learn it. It's like, how do I do this? So I spent a lot of my time bugging a lot of the original Imagineers, like Marc and Alice and Sam McKim and Rolly Crump, saying, how do I do this? How do I get my foot in the door, and how do I learn how to design well and correctly? But regardless, the book is really a love letter to Marc Davis and Alice as well, and it's a 2-volume set. So it's over 750 pages, I believe, and it weighs like 13 pounds. It was ridiculous. And I felt so bad at the people. We debuted it at D23 last year, 2019, and I felt so bad because people
had to
were
carry it, right?
People were carrying around the convention floor, just getting hernias and going into traction, and I just like, oh my gosh, But the idea was, the intent was on this book is to take a really in-depth, deep dive look at Marc's career as an Imagineer, which used to be called WED. And in fact, the working title of the book was Marc Davis Goes to WED, which for those of your audience who don't know, WED Enterprises is the original name of Imagineering. And I knew I was going to get shot down eventually on it.
It sounds like, how he married Alice, right?
Right, yeah, I think it's a wedding book, or, I don't know, anyway. Everyone's I wasn't confused by it, but everyone was confused by it. But you know, but the thought was, let's do this book and let's look at what it was like for Marc, because it was Marc's second career. So Marc was a master animator. He started on Snow White in the late 1930s and worked his way up to being a directing animator. I mean, he's responsible for the development of Bambi and a lot of the Song of the South characters, and really shined with female characters. So, particularly in Sleeping Beauty, he animated both Aurora, Briar Rose, and Maleficent, and many other amazing Disney characters, culminating with his work on Cruella de Vil. And after Cruella de Vil, he ends up at Imagineering. And, you know, I was always like, well, how did that happen? So this book is a look at that. How did he start his second career that Walt Disney began for him at Imagineering? And then let's take a real in-depth look at each of these attractions. I always felt Marc Davis has a pretty passionate fan base, but I also felt that he didn't necessarily always get his due in everything that he did. Yes, he gets a lot of recognition for Pirates of the Caribbean and the Haunted Mansion and Bear Country, but maybe not for a lot of other things he had a heavy influence on. Like he completely redesigned the gags in the submarine voyage, like the year after it happened, and the first thing that Walt had him really work on was redoing the gags at Nature's Wonderland. Which a lot of these gags they actually didn't implement because, you know, they had just opened the attraction. They had spent I don't know how many millions of dollars, and Walt Disney asked Marc to take a look at it, and Marc comes back with like 50 plus beautiful watercolors and redesigns the whole thing and redesigns the whole gags. And, you know, he gets hauled into a meeting, you know, with Walt and Admiral Joe Fowler and John Hench and Dick Irvine, and they're, you know, and Marc's telling him, well, we're going to change this, and we should change this, and we should change this, and Walt Disney's going, yeah, and these guys are looking at him like, we just got this attraction open. we're changing it. But so that's the book. So it's attraction by attraction, chronologically, everything that he worked on up until the late 1970s when he retired from Imagineering. And the amount of work he did, I sure learned a lot that I didn't know, particularly with the Florida parks. The work he did on Epcot and World of Motion. And then there's a ton of unrealized projects that he worked on too, not just the Enchanted Snow Palace and Western River Expedition, which are two kind of very famous attractions that never made it for Florida. But these other strange things like this walk-through Funhouse, and he had a Silly Symphonies dark ride that he was trying to get off the ground at one point. There was a kind of a carousel theater attraction that he did for Monsanto that he worked with Ray Bradbury on, of all things, which is really strange and really fascinating. So this, you know, so you needed 2 volumes to tell this story, and then the artwork, there's so much artwork, and it's not just from the Imagineering archives, and I really have to credit Vanessa Hunt and the rest of the art collections team, by the way, because Vanessa really led the effort to, you know, a lot of the Imagineering artwork when it was first starting to be reproduced in the 1990s, the color reproduction was pretty bad, actually. I remember, you know, I would line up with a lot of other people at the Disney Gallery to get a reproduction of something and think, well, these colors look weird. And then, you know, when you see the originals on display, you're like, oh, those colors are completely off. Well, Vanessa and her team went out of their way to rescan every single piece of artwork in the book. So the colors were the most accurate, are the most accurate they've ever been in a book. And gosh, I just, you know, I thought it was really important to tell this story because I felt people knew a little bit about Marc, but they didn't realize, like, in my opinion, second to maybe Walt Disney, he's probably the most important Imagineer that ever was. And I mean that in terms of having direct impact on the parks and the attractions that guests still love to this day. I mean, when you look at his body of work, and especially in this 2-volume set, it's really kind of undeniable. And I wanted to prove that by showing it. But the other big thing that's interesting about the book is, you know, I told Pete, when we started this and when we pitched it to Disney Publishing, I said, no one wants to hear us bloviating about why the majesty of the 1964 New York World's Fair, it's so important. I said, maybe they want to hear you say it, but no one wants to hear me say it. But what they do want to hear is they want to hear Marc say it. And I think all of us who are passionate about the history of the Disney theme parks would love nothing more than to jump in a time machine and be a fly on the wall in the 1960s when Marc is working away in his office and Walt Disney comes in and goes, hey, Marc, I want you to work on this Pirates walkthrough wax museum. And how did that discussion go? And what were they trying to do? And what was Walt trying to do? And what was Marc getting from it? And what did Walt Disney teach Marc about staging and design? And what did Marc end up teaching Walt about? And what did the entire team at WED find out together? I think that's what people want to hear. So really, that's why it's called Marc Davis in his own words. I did quite a few interviews with Marc over the years, and when I started going to lunch with them, at a certain point I thought, hey, knucklehead, start tape recording him. And I was so stupid because, instead of like spending the $1.25 to get a new blank cassette, I was reusing cassettes of Soft Cell or
yeah,
your Kajagoogoo or something, so these recordings I have of Marc, like the music's bleeding through because I just taped over like a music cassette.
so you hear Marc Davis going, "Oh, tainted love."
Well, maybe not singing along with Soft Cell, but but anyway, so I had all these recordings, and then I kind of tracked down everything that existed. One of the wonderful things is I used to work a little bit when I was in college on this fanzine, the E-Ticket magazine, which ended up as part of the Walt Disney Family Museum collection. And so they've got all the recordings of that. So we used that, and then we kind of used every other interview that we could ever find from Marc. Alice gave us a lot of things. And so it was both a ridiculous amount of work, but also really great because then you could put everything in Marc's own words. So it felt like you're getting a one-on-one lecture from Marc. So you're looking at his artwork, and you're looking at photos of the attractions being installed. And then one of the things I'm kind of a big nerd about is I really try and dig deep and find images and artwork that people haven't necessarily seen before because so many books have been done, and it's kind of like if you're someone who's a fan of these things, but you're ponying up for a book, you're like, well, this has the same artwork I've seen a million times before. So I don't want to do that to someone who's actually going to pay money for it. I want to show them something new if I can. But to have it in Marc's own words, and then also other Imagineers. And what was really fun for me was, there were people like Claude Coates and Harriet Burns and, Blaine Gibson, who are no longer with us, and some of whom, like I had recorded Harriet a couple times and talked with Blaine a bit while they were around, but I never got to meet Claude Coates. But I really wanted to, in areas where I didn't necessarily have Marc talking about a piece of artwork or an area of design, I just didn't have it. It didn't exist, and I can't ask him anymore, right? Have some of these other Imagineers jump in. And Marty Sklar was really helpful. Marty spent a couple of hours with me in my office one day just answering every stupid question I had. Bob Gurr. And then a lot of the people who work directly, these people are kind of, I don't want to say unsung, but they haven't got the attention they deserve. And these are the mechanics and the machinists and people who built the actual animatronics in MAPO. So MAPO is the part of Imagineering, or was the part of Imagineering that did the manufacturing, particularly of the animatronics. So how it would work, let's say Marc was working on America Sings with Albertino, and they would say, well, we've got this stork kind of character, and he's kind of a hippie stork, and he's in a rock band, and we want him to kind of bounce up and down on his knees. So Blaine Gibson is going to sculpt this thing. Marc is designing it. Albertino's writing the show and doing some of the gags with Marc, and all three of them would march over to the MAPO facility, which is on the campus, and talk to someone like Wayne Jackson, who would be actually building this figure. And it was really important for all of them to be able to state the goals to them. Say, well, I want, especially for Marc saying, I want this character to move in this specific way. What can we do to make it? And they would interface back and forth. So guys like Wayne Jackson, Dave Sweninger, other people who worked in MAPO are still around, were very helpful to me, and I felt very fortunate to be able to interview them. People who worked on the Tokyo projects with Marc, because Marc came out of retirement to work on the Tokyo projects a bit. So basically the idea is that you're seeing this amazing artwork by Marc, you're seeing these rare photos of them working at Imagineering and in the parks installing these attractions, and you're getting a one-on-one lecture from Marc being supported by other people who were around working with him at the time. And that's our equivalent of creating a time machine for you, right? And that was the other thing that was so cool that Pete and I talked about when we were students, when we were in our 20s, being over to just go hang out with Marc and Alice and sit in their living room and ask him a million questions, about Nature's Wonderland or the Haunted Mansion and how did you do this and have him answer it. That was a really unique, amazing experience that I maybe didn't even fully appreciate at the time, but we kind of wanted to replicate that in this book. So again, the book is massive. It's a 2-volume set. It's a bit pricey, but I feel it's worth it because we put so much research, so much time and dedication, everything from Vanessa and the art library team to getting the color reproductions exactly right, to Alice Davis turning over the entire house to us. We found all of Marc's original rough sketches, so you can see his thought process, as he works through an idea. And what's really cool about these rough pencil sketches is there's a lot of gags for things that don't exist anywhere else because he just did it as a little thumbnail throwaway and then he never took it to a full watercolor. So that's the only place you're ever going to see that gag, in terms of like a what would have been. And just the amount of information in the book, I think, it's certainly not a bathroom book. It's not a quick read. There's a lot there, but I think it's worth it. So, yeah,
for sure, it's beautiful. And I thought that I knew a lot about Marc Davis, but even looking at all of this, it reminded me of all the things that he did do that was part of my childhood. You and I are similar in age, and America Sings and Country Bear Jamboree, and like you said, a little bit of the Mine Train,
right,
gags on that. And I barely remember that. I was probably just maybe 5, 8, 6, 7 years old when I went out. But
yeah,
but it just reminded me, like, wow, he had his handprint on so many things.
He really did. And that's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's kind of, not accurate of me to say unsung, because he certainly is not unsung. But I just wanted people to really realize, here's how much he really did. Here's how much he really impacted the parks. And things like, you mentioned America Sings. I mean, America Sings only existed at Disneyland and it's gone. And even just trying to find decent, nice, full-color photos of America Sings, even within our archives, was challenging. But that was an amazing show, and it was, it certainly was a show of its time and of its place. I don't think, very unlikely that Disney is going to do a show like that again, right? I hate to say the word Chuck E. Cheese because that draws up the connotation of something really awful. But the idea of you're marching into a theater and you're sitting down and you're seeing performing robots, right?
Yeah.
That's not maybe something that people are going to do anymore or invest the money in. But boy, the way those figures moved. Oh my gosh, the engineers and the machinists who worked on that. That hippie stork that I mentioned from the end of America's Sings. He bounced up and down on his knees and shook his head and had kind of a mop thing. I mean, if your listeners know what I'm talking about, that thing was a life. It was amazing.
Yeah, I somewhere I've got a VHS tape because somebody tipped me off to, and I was just this teenager, early teens,
right.
And somebody tipped me off that, they're going to close America Sings, right? So I went in there with a VHS camera. Those things were shoulder mounted back then,
right.
And Yeah, and I videotaped as much of it as I could, and somewhere I've got that VHS tape somewhere. But
right.
But if our listeners don't, if they're not already going to go buy that book, if they don't have it already, nothing else will convince them. So, but
I mean, it's not.
It's a great. There's no excuse. If they have the money, to get it, they should get it. If they have any interest at all in theme park history or any of that stuff. But I also did want to throw in that you've had previous books too, like you did the Pacific Ocean Park, the Rise and Fall of Los Angeles' Space Age Nautical Pleasure Pier, right? You're a co-author of that. And also the Knott's Preserved book.
Oh yeah, it's a great book. Yeah,
we just this last year we went into the third edition of Knott's Preserved because it's sadly with COVID, everything got blown up, but it's Knott's 100-year anniversary.
Yeah,
and so we did a 100. My co-author Eric Linksweiler and I did a 100-year edition. And it's got, every time we've revised this thing, we've added, something like, 20 plus more pages to it. So it's
wow. I'll have to see which edition I have now.
Yeah, the newest edition, and you can only get it at Knott's, I think, but you can order it online from Virginia's gift shop or whatever. But what's nice is the Knott's Berry Tales ride, which we all loved, which was designed by Rolly Crump in the 70s and had a huge impact on me. There's a really great gentleman, Ken Parks, who has really championed bringing back Knott's Berry Tales, and so they've redone Knott's Berry Tales in the original location, and it's a different sort of attraction than it was originally. But we were lucky enough to get a sneak peek of it a couple of weeks ago, and I think they knocked it out of the park. I think it's wonderful.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really cute and charming, and tons of nods to Rolly Crump. But anyway, the new version of Knott's Preserved has a whole section on the new Berry Tales at the back end, and then what I have been doing for my COVID lockdown project, summer and fall, and I'm trying to get my first draft finished. Is Eric and I decided. With our friend Albert Rodriguez, who's probably the world's #1 Knott's Berry Tales fan, we're doing a book with Rolly Crump on the history of the original Knott's Berry Tales. And so it's loaded with tons of concept artwork and photos no one's ever seen before. We tracked down all the people who worked on this with Rolly in the 70s, and it's kind of, it's hippie freak out Rolly Crump. It's lots of super crazy colors and very 60s, 70s, and Rolly had long hair and a beard then, and wore psychedelic outfits, and a lot of it has to do with the Roaring Twenties section and Marion Knott, and Marion Knott really being the first female executive theme park designer to really step up and kind of, it's all old white guys before. And Marion Knott comes in and designs the Roaring Twenties and gets Rolly to design the Knott's Berry Tales ride, and they put in the corkscrew roller coaster, and it really put Knott's Berry Farm on the map. At a certain point, like in 1975, after they opened, they were only, in terms of theme park attendance throughout the world, it was only Disneyland and Walt Disney World that was more popular than Knott's Berry Farm for a time. So it really put them on the map. So Marion Knott is really an interesting part of this book too. So that's going to come out next summer. And then I'm also, I don't think I can really talk about it yet because it's not announced, but I'm working on another book of theme park history that you'll know about later. I can't say anything about it.
That's fine.
I'm like, I can't talk about it yet. It hasn't. Yeah. But that's going to be really cool too. So. Anyway,
awesome.
So a couple of books in the pipeline.
Great. Thank you so much for your time, Chris. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm glad we could do this.
Okay. Well, that concludes episode 300 of the Sweep Spot podcast.
300. That's 300. Oh, you know what, Lynn?
What?
And here I never thought it would last. And wait, did I say that out loud? No. Yeah. No, but in all seriousness, you've been the one who's been here from the beginning, and you've really, put a lot of work into this, and you're the one who's kept it going, and I really appreciate it. Even before I joined, I thought this is a really nice podcast, and I think it gives people something they don't find in other places. We bring a unique insight, and I think our love of Disneyland and the cast members there shows through, and hopefully it'll be reopened soon, and people will be back to work, and people will be back to enjoying it, and people will be healthy. And I want to thank everybody for sticking with us. I want to thank everybody who spreads the word. Join with us on Facebook as long as we're still allowed to be there, we're on Twitter as well. So find us on, we have a group on Facebook. You can come on and discuss the show and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are everywhere. We have, Twitter, all those things you can find on our website if you want to know where to find us. But you can pretty much search for us. You'll find us. I'm on Instagram, and I post stuff on there. I think it's just the Sweet Spot on Instagram. Kind of forgot about our T-shirt designs that we have, that new Galaxy's Edge kind of inspired trash can thing.
Yeah, that's a really, in all seriousness, all joking aside, that is a really cool design.
Yeah. So check those out. You can get them as a sticker or a cell phone case and all this stuff over at tpublic.com and search the Sweet Spot. But yeah, wow, just a lot going on. I'm really excited for this year. We already have our first 4 shows, planned out. And I already have ideas for some other shows later in the year. So I'm really looking forward to this. We have a lot of fun stuff to do and take care of. And thank you all so much for listening and hanging in there.
Thank you. And thanks to all of our sponsors.
Yes.
And our Patreons, and of course you, the listeners. And do spread the word. Tell people where they can find us, okay?
Sounds good. We'll talk with you next time.